University of Kentucky Family and Consumer Sciences Extension. I'm the Food Preservation and Food Safety Specialist, and I'd like to demonstrate today how to properly freeze fish. Fish is extremely perishable. Whether it's a fresh catch or something you purchased at the grocery store, it only has a 2-day shelf life at the most in your refrigerator. Once you get your fish home, you want to eat it or freeze it within a day, and definitely within 2 days. After 2 days, you're going to notice spoilage and it's not going to be good to eat. So I'm going to demonstrate some inexpensive ways to freeze fish at home. I'm going to start with packaging in plastic bags. I have some storage bags today and some freezer bags, and I'd like to talk to you about the difference. The storage bags are much thinner than freezer bags. Now I want you to look at the word storage. Don't pay attention to the brand name or the size. I happen to be using quart today, but you can get these in gallon size. The storage bags are going to be thinner than the freezer bags, so you don't want to purchase storage bags. You want to make sure that your package says freezer. These are quart bags. Those are the most common, especially for fish, because fish is not always a large product to freeze. And you can freeze in gallon bags if you have a lot to freeze at once. But I'd like to recommend just freezing as much as you need in one setting. So if you commonly eat 2 or 3 pieces for dinner, freeze that amount at a time. So I have my freezer bag right here, and I'm going to start by taking my fillet, and I can wrap it in plastic wrap, get as much air out as possible, flatten the fish, make sure that it's been rinsed and patted dry, and then you want to flatten it, get as much air out as possible, wrap it, and then place it in your freezer bag for storage. If you don't have saran wrap, if you just have a plastic bag, you can also put it in that bag and cover it with water. It's a great way to freeze fish because it removes all of the air. If you surround that fish in water, there's no air. So place the fish in the bag, pour your water in. You don't want to fill it up. You just want to cover that fillet, fold it down, get as much air out as possible, and then seal it. At this point, you'll want to label the bag with the type of fish and the date so that when you pull it out of the freezer, you know how old it is. Now, you can lay this flat to freeze it in your freezer, or you can set it up. When you set it upright, it's going to be kind of in a ball shape, a little hump, and that's going to take up more space in your freezer. Both are acceptable. It just depends on how much space you have. You can also use a storage container to freeze your fish. And the same rule applies with the storage containers. You want to make sure that you're buying a freezer container and not just a storage container. So pay particular attention to the label. These are storage containers, and these will say for freezer. And if you have any at home, you can usually tell the freezer containers are going to be a thicker plastic. They're probably going to be opaque. You're not going to be able to see through them. They're going to have a plastic that's not so much bendable. The type of containers that you get for storage are usually thinner and a little more flimsy. They're going to be soft to the touch and bendable, and air is going to get through that container. So you don't want to use this storage container for freezing. All right, so I'm going to take a couple of fillets, place them in the bottom of my storage container, and I'm going to cover it with water. I don't want to fill it all the way up. I want to allow a little bit of head space because there will be some expansion when the product freezes. Place your lid on the top, and then you'll want to take your marker and label it with the type of fish and the date. Then you just simply place this container in the freezer. Another option is to use freezer paper. Freezer paper is different than wax paper. It's coated on one side, called the shiny side, and just regular paper on the back side. I already have a piece cut off here. This is the shiny side. And what you want to do is place your fish on this shiny side. It's coated to protect the fish from sticking to the paper and also acts as a moisture barrier. So just place your fish in the freezer paper and follow the instructions that are on the package. Now, the best way to freeze fish is to use a vacuum sealer. A vacuum sealer will automatically remove the air from the package so that there is no oxygen to cause freezer burn. And so my vacuum sealer has a storage roll of the film inside. It allows you to make the size of the bag that you need. I have a bag made right here. I'm going to place my fillets, again 2 to 3 at a time because that's what we normally eat, in the freezer bag. Make it large enough so that you have enough to put in the sealing section of your vacuum sealer. Put it right in there, close the lid, and then hit the button. Now the great thing about vacuum sealing, it removes all the oxygen and your package is completely flat. You can store a lot of fish in your freezer this way. They'll just lay right on top of the other. It's also important to label and date this. This is catfish, and then go ahead and put the date on it. When properly packaged and frozen, fish can stay in the freezer for up to 6 months for the best quality and nutritional value. It's also best to not thaw and refreeze fish due to the delicate texture of the meat. I hope you follow these guidelines to safely preserve your fish in the freezer. And if you need more information on freezing, you can contact your local extension office.